Hey everyone, so in today's video I'm going to be showing you how to do scrolling in SwiftUI, and specifically how to make only part of the screen scrollable. So what we're going to do is we're going to start by creating an Xcode project. So open up Xcode in your taskbar, or maybe it's over here in the Launchpad. But once you open it up, then let's just create a new Xcode project. It'll be an iOS app, and the name of this one, I'm going to call it Recipe Scroll, because we're going to be doing a recipe app as our sample. For the team, just do none, or if you are signed into Xcode with your Apple ID, then that's fine. For the organization identifier, it's just your website backwards, so I have com.kjapps. If you don't have a website, you can just do com.literally anything. Leave this SwiftUI, Swift, and leave these unchecked, and do next. I'm going to save mine in just a folder I have on the desktop. You can save yours wherever you want, and then click Create. So that gets that going. I'm going to maximize this here, and then I'm just going to make sure that I'm not in the way. So for this video, I'm actually going to pull this over here a little bit, and then, actually no, I'm not going to do that. I'm just going to move my face so that it's just a little bit smaller there. There we go. So for this section, the preview section, I like to have mine on this one. It says zoom to fit. So when you do that, then however you resize this, then it will just kind of make sure that it's always showing the whole thing. And so I like that. And before we actually get into the code here, we need to go into a browser. So you can go over to Chrome or Firefox or Safari or whatever, and then go to pixabay.com or just any website where you can download photos for free. And you don't need an account to do this. You can just search for food. We're going to do some food because it's a recipes app. Let's get these right here. That looks pretty good. Just download this, and then let's do 5. We're looking for 5 things. Let's get these here. Let's download it, and then let's get some salmon there. That looks good. Let's see. Pancakes. I like pancakes. That looks pretty good. And then one more. Let's go for these right here. Some sort of toast or spread or something. All right, that's good. We have 5, so we can get out of there. And then those are in our downloads folder now. And it looks like I accidentally left the old ones in here that I used for the sample. So let me hurry and just delete those. Just pretend these aren't here. Okay, so here's the ones we downloaded. And we're going to actually change these to say food 1, food 2, food 3, food 4, and food 5. And if you're wondering why I'm looking over here instead of over there, it's because this is where the screen is that I'm recording. So yeah. So now we have those. So let's go back to our Xcode project and just kind of get this out of maximum mode for now. And then let's also go to the assets catalog here. And then all we do is just drag these 5 images to our assets catalog. We can get out of our downloads, can maximize this again, and those are in our assets catalog. So now we have 5 different recipes, I guess, just images of food. So now we can finally go back to the content view. And then sometimes when you mess with the size of Xcode, it just does this. The one I had it on was this third one here, zoom to fit. And then I will resize that again. So the first thing let's do is let's just get rid of all this. So the first thing I want to show you is how to make the whole screen scrollable. The way you do that is you just add a scroll view and then make sure there's curly braces, and then that's it. The whole screen is scrollable. If we go over here and try to scroll, we're not going to be able to see anything happening because there's nothing on the scroll view yet. So let's start putting those images on here. But I don't want to put those images on here one by one. So let's actually just do a for each loop. And then in parentheses, we have to put the range we want. I want it to be from 1 to 5, which is 1 dot dot less than sign 6. That's how you say 1 through 5 in a for each. Kind of weird, but that's how it works. Then we do a curly brace, and then we do I in. Now we don't have to do I. This is just the name of our index. We can do index. We can do I, the letter, or like the word I, as in eyeball. But I just like to do the letter I. What the I does is it basically equals whatever loop you're on. So if we're on the first loop, then since we start at 1, then I equals 1. If we're on the second loop, since the second one is 2, then I equals 2. So if we started from 5, or let's say we start from 3, then we're only going from 3 to 5, so it's 3, 4, 5. So it would loop through 3 times, and I would be equal to 3, and then it would be equal to 4, then 5. But we're starting with 1, so that's how it's going to work. And I could go into for each loops more, but this video is about scrolling, so let's move on. Inside of our for each loop, we can finally add those images. So let's say image, and then we just need the name of the image. So we'll do quotes, and they all start with food, and then we can do backslash parentheses, and then we can just actually put that I property in there since it is equal to these numbers 1 through 5. And that matches our images, food 1 through 5. So in our preview, we can see that pulls those in there, and they're way too big, but this is actually scrollable. It's working. But again, they're way too big. So let's fix that. The way we fix that is we add what's called a modifier to our view. So under the image here, let's say dot resizable with parentheses, then one more dot scale to fit with parentheses. That's perfect. So now we can see those on our screen, and we can scroll to the last one. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 recipes in here now. So that's how you do scrolling for the entire screen. But how do we do scrolling for only part of the screen? For this one, let's create a new view. So go over here and right-click on the content view, and let's do new file, and then we're going to make sure SwiftUI view is selected. Click next, and then I'm going to call this one partly scrolling, since we're only going to scroll on part of the screen. So that creates a whole new file for us under the content view called partly scrolling, and then it fills in some template code for us, just the text hello world. So we can actually get rid of this, and the first thing we want on this one is a V stack. That stands for vertical stack, so we're going to stack things vertically. The first thing we want on our V stack is some text, and we'll just say recipes in all caps. So that shows up there, but it's a little bit small for a title, so let's add a modifier here. We'll say dot font, and then in the parentheses, we'll say dot large title. So that makes it a lot bigger. And let's add another text. Say text, and then we'll say, this is our recipe app. It has tons, really only 5, of awesome and tasty recipes. So check them out below. There we go. And that looks a little small next to our huge recipes title. So let's do dot font dot title 3. And that looks pretty good. Now, under here, we're finally going to add our scroll view. So put that there with the curly braces, and that's going to push everything else to the top of the screen. But before we throw anything inside the scroll view, let's just add one more text under here, and we'll say, I hope you enjoyed those recipes. Check back soon for more. And that looks kind of crowded, so that the curve of the screen is kind of cutting that off there. So let's add a modifier called dot padding there. Just the default one with empty parentheses. That makes it look nicer, but I want that to be centered. So let's do one more dot multi-line text alignment dot center. Good. I like that. And while we're at it, let's just go up here and add some padding to this one because it looks like it's getting a little bit close to the edges of the screen there. Awesome. So now we can finally go in here and add those images to our scroll view. But it's going to be the exact same thing we did over here in the content view. So let's actually just copy this for each section here with Command C on the keyboard and then paste it over here with Command V. And there we go. The scrolling part, it doesn't push everything else off the screen. It kind of stays in its area, and we can't scroll up here. We can't scroll down here, but we can scroll right here. So we can scroll through those images just right where the scroll view is in our code. So that's how to add scrolling to only part of the screen. You just put it somewhere in your view instead of first thing right at the very top. Now, just really quickly, I want to show you how to add horizontal scrolling. So we'll just use this same view here. We don't need to create a whole new one. So the first thing we'll do is we'll hover over this for each, hold the Command key down on your keyboard, and then notice it kind of highlights that. Just click on this for each. It brings up this menu, and the one we want is embed in H stack. So let's do that. It puts that in there, and that kind of ruins our view a little bit. But before we panic too much, let's go after our scroll view and do parentheses dot horizontal. And there we go. So that brings it back up, and it makes so that it scrolls horizontally now. And those images are kind of big, so if we want to make those a little bit smaller, let's go to our image view and add one more modifier. Let's do dot frame. I'm going to do a width of 500. That makes it just a little bit more manageable, and you can see we can't scroll up and down, but we can scroll horizontally through those images. So that's it for real. So in this video, I showed you how to make the whole screen scrollable, how to make only part of the screen scrollable, and how to add horizontal scrolling, all with SwiftUI. So that's it for today. Check back soon for more videos, and I'll see you next time.